Hi, welcome to the third episode of Kiddo Book Babble. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Today I'm going to be talking about bilingual books and foreign language books. It's very important to my husband and I that our kids know that there's other languages out there. We are not bilingual, we're not a bilingual household, but we do think it's important to expose our kids to the different kinds of languages and stories and writing systems out there. We don't want them to live in a little bubble. That's what books are all about, right? Expanding our horizons. So this is a great way to do it, and I think other people agree. We've gotten a lot of gifts of foreign language books. For example, the ever popular Cat in the Hat. I think we have it in all the Romance languages. Yes, good. But what I wanted to share with you today is there's some Spanish, Polish, Latin, and Japanese for you. Yes, it'll be fun time. Let's get started. Okay, I'm sure you've seen the Baby Lit books by Jennifer Adams. I think they're very popular and I love them personally. One of the texts they take is to turn the story into a primer. So in the case of Don Quixote, they changed it into a Spanish language primer. And I think this is really well done. You know, it seems like a gimmicky thing designed just to sell books to more book nerds, right? But it's simple but well done. You have English on one side, Spanish on the other, but it's even the detail. So on this book here, you have books on one side and Los Libros on the other, but even the book titles themselves are translated. So it's little things like that where you can tell they thought about it and kind of took it all the way through. And the other feature of this book that I like is the pronunciation guide on the back in both Spanish and English. You really feel like a jerk when you're reading to your kid and you're going, Los Molinos de Viento, and having no idea if that's correct or not. That kind of defeats the purpose. So you can look on the back as you're reading and say, look, windmills, Los Molinos de Viento. De Viento. It takes me a minute. I'm not good at this stuff. Let's move on to some Japanese. You'll probably recognize this illustrator, Carle. He's joined here by a very well-known Japanese illustrator, so the book jacket tells me, to tell a story of friendship in two languages. So the first half of the book goes through the story, which is actually a song in English. Goes through your typical Carle style. And the end of the book goes through the same story, and because you read the other way in Japanese, the same story in Japanese. The sounds in Japanese are actually pretty easy for an English speaker to grasp. The sounds are kind of a, I, u, e, o with some consonants in front of them. Variations on that. Pretty easy. But it has it all written here, not only the hiragana, but also the pronunciation next to it. So you can see that it says Kimi no Tomada Chisa. And that's just fun for your kid to sound out and look at. And it's fun to see the different illustrations. You have your one style in one half of the book and your Carle style on the other half of the book. So differences, similarities, fun stuff, all good. One of the places I like to find foreign language stories for my kids are actually festivals, such as Polish Fest, or it might be an Armenian festival happening, something you're just driving along, you see a sign on the side of the road. You know, I encourage you, go check it out. You never know what's going to be there. You'll be able to pick up some fun stuff. For example, Polish Fest garnered me this story of fairy tales in Polish and English. It's written for a Polish speaker, so the pronunciation guide at the bottom is in English. It tells you how to pronounce friendly in English and trunk in English, not in Polish, so I really couldn't tell you how that works. It's something different than just a primer or a dictionary, which are useful in their own way, but it can be really fun to see it kind of written out as a story. My kid enjoys it. She likes to pretend she's reading the Polish. She thinks it's fun to do. And this one is actually not a bad adaptation of the fairy tales themselves. It's pretty good. Ugly Duckling doesn't really sugarcoat things, but doesn't make it too scary either. It has a good middle ground going. And it's fun because the vocabulary words down at the bottom are actually a little different than the ones up here. They're different terms, so you might not use the word box in the story up here, but it's on the page, so you can use that to talk about, and that's always fun. So yeah, I encourage you to check out festivals, and you can always find stuff like this, and it's fun stuff. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the Usborne line. What I have here is first 1,000 words in Latin. My daughter had a ball looking through this. I brought this home and she just wanted to talk about everything on every page. She's like, what's that mean? What's that mean? What's that mean? What's that word? And so on and so forth. So if you have, half an hour to spend, these are scenes that are familiar to her. You have your breakfast here. What is toast? What is egg? What is mashed potatoes? They take some liberties because some of these things did not exist back in the Latin word, I would assume, such as zipper. So it's interesting to kind of look that stuff up and get an idea of where they're going with that. So it's this one, I don't know, I like the Latin version because it's fun mysteries that you can kind of unsolve, things like that. It's also good because it comes with a word list and pronunciation guide in the back. Going back to my point before, you don't want to sound like a jerk when you're talking to your kids, so it gives you cues. It says, okay, so the Y with the line on top is pronounced like the German U with an umlaut on top. And if you're like me, you have no idea what that means. But it tells you, try making your mouth the shape to say ooh and say E instead. So E. There you go. So those are some of the bilingual and foreign language books that I wanted to share with you today. What are your favorites? Go on, tell me. You can reach me on kiddobookbabble.com, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions and listen to any input that you have. Stay tuned for our next episode. It'll be posting soon. Until then, have a great day. Thanks.